Kim, founder of the Perfect Blend podcast. I've always had the vision of uniting women in all stages of motherhood while motivating, inspiring, and pushing you to be the best mother you are destined to be. We look forward to sharing our unedited, raw, funny, and emotional moments of our lives as we embrace motherhood. So here we are, 4 moms, 4 journeys, and 1 purpose. Welcome to the Perfect Blend podcast, a podcast for moms by moms. And welcome to episode 4. Today we're going to be talking about mom breaks. So what is it that you do to unwind and recharge on a daily basis? I'd have to say, because since I stay at home with the kids all day, I mean, it's going to sound bad, but I look forward to when Joshua comes home, only because, of course, I miss him and stuff like that. My escape is to go to Target, is to go to Walmart, wherever it is, just so I can have at least an hour breathing time or whatever it is. Especially on those hard days. It's not every day, but for me, that's my recharge. So if it's to go grab milk or whatever it is, and then once everybody is, it's already time to sleep and all that, and everybody's asleep and everything, that's when I wind down and just take a nice bath and, on days that I can, because some days I'm just so worn out that I'm just shower and good night or whatever. But that's my way of winding down. It's just, like I said, either going out for a little bit or just being able to take that nice relaxing bath.
Mine's similar to yours. So I do like being able to kind of escape a little bit. I do try to give myself a time. So I'll tell Curtis I'll be back in an hour. And I try to do everything that hour I can do. Usually I'll go to Waterford, and then I'll go from one store to the next. Or even if I'm not going to buy anything, I'll window shop. So that's one way. But if I know that I can't leave, say Curtis has to work from home and I kind of still have to I guess watch the kids, or maybe they're napping but I can't leave, then I'll either take a nice shower, or I hate to admit it, but I'll just sit and watch reality TV. I'll just watch show after show, and it requires no thinking. I watch a lot of stuff. But I enjoy that. I feel it winds me down enough. Or I'll sit on the couch, and between that and Facebook on my phone. But that's what I do.
I don't know about watching reality TV. I feel it just gives me anxiety. But it's kind of become a nightly thing with RJ and I and Mason. And really it's only the nights that RJ's home, but we'll sit and we'll watch, we're always watching a show, it's our show, and that's the show that we choose. If it's on a night that he's leaving, or that he's working, I will hang out with Mason until he falls asleep, and then I'll use that time to just kind of write. So again, I have a million journals, and they all have different subjects, and I write on whichever one I feel that day. Or if not, then I'll just write for my blog or whatever, and then I'll just kind of use that time to kind of unwind and word vomit. That's pretty much what it is. Just depends whether it's with a pen or with typing on my laptop, but either way it helps me kind of just relax. That's my go-to to kind of just to get some release, if you will. But that's kind of my thing, is writing, or just hanging out, just hang out, watch TV. Sometimes Mason will literally just sit there and watch PJ Masks, and then I'll just hang out with him and just be on my phone, lay in bed or whatever.
I exercise. I'll cycle or do my exercise, and when I don't want to do that, I binge watch a Netflix show, and that is what I do. And if my phone rings or anyone says, hey, you want to come over? I'm sorry, I'm watching my show. And that's what I like to do. Like you were saying, it's not something that you use your brain on. Sometimes when we do a certain particular job, we have to think so much problem solving and all that. it's nice to like at that moment just like not have to use our brain and just try to find out like who's the killer in the show or what's going to happen next or, you know, mourn the death of one of our favorite characters, you know, things like that.
Yeah. I wish I could. Sometimes I think about like the journaling. Like I love that idea, but then I find like when I start to do it, I'm doing more of like the thinking. So then I quit.
Right?
Yeah.
That's
But
funny.
I think that's awesome. Like I would love to, I don't know, learn like, I don't know if that's like a habit you build or learn like, I'd love to do something like that because sometimes like I do have thoughts or sometimes I want to look back like on a moment and I don't have it. So.
I think it just kind of depends like how you choose to do it. Like there are, like I've personally looked up like on Pinterest and stuff, I've looked up, you know, journaling prompts. So if I want something that is thought-provoking, I'll look something up if I can't come up with something myself, if I don't have a specific topic I want to write about. So I'll do that and I'll kind of, you know, just write a couple of questions for myself and then I'll go based off of that. For me, it's because it's kind of an outlet, it also comes pretty natural. Like sometimes I will just sit and I will just start writing and then just kind of go, you know, off on whatever it is, whatever topic I'm choosing to write about. So I think it just kind of depends like how you want to, you know, do it. A lot of the times I'll think about a topic at some random moment and then I started recently to write it down like in my phone, just pull out my phone really quick, write it in the notes. And then when I go home, I remember the topic, and because it's coming from me, it's a lot easier to write, and it doesn't necessarily require much thinking at that point because it's already, you know, coming from my thoughts. So I think it just kind of depends, like how you do it, how you choose to do it. So
I like to watch those shows. Well, again, this is the Netflix shows. So, like, I like to watch things that have to do with stuff that I like to do and don't have the time to do it. So, like, the decorating shows. Like, I'll watch it, or, like, the cooking shows and stuff. Like, when I don't know what it is that intrigues me, like, the little reality shows. But it's just because it's just stuff that I just won't typically do. So, I think that that's also interesting and a little getaway. I'd be like, ooh, I'd like to do that. Like, when you do a board on Pinterest and you don't really do the stuff that's on there. It's just stuff you wish you could do.
I never knew that because you're always watching scary stuff.
that's so funny.
So I don't know.
I like that too. I like the cooking shows. Like
I
or,
love the cooking shows.
Like the baking contest. I guess that's still reality TV.
Yes.
But I like that, like baking, like the cupcake wars.
I
or
love
like,
that.
I don't know if it's called cake wars. I can't think of what it's called now. But like where like it's like 3 teams and they're like making a cake for like a theme or for like a party.
cake
Yeah.
wars.
I like
kids?
that. I like
Have you ever watched with the
SVU.
kids?
I watch all of
Yeah.
them, especially if they're on the food channel and all that stuff. I've watched that, and then of
Or
course my
HGTV.
shameless one.
I
Yeah,
like that.
it's like 90 Day Fiance. That's my shameless. Like,
I don't know. TV for me is like, I get too into it. I will literally be watching TV and you could be talking to me and I'm not going to hear what you're telling me. Like, I won't listen. Not because I don't want to, but because I don't realize that you're talking to me. And RJ has gotten mad at me so many times because of it. Because of the reason of you're not paying attention to me. And I've repeated myself 5 times. I'm like, I'm sorry. I just can't focus on 2 things. It's you or the
What do
TV.
you think that what are things that maybe other moms do? Like I know like we mentioned like TV, working out, showers, journaling.
Crocheting. I know people that crochet.
Ooh, I do know someone that
I
crochets.
used to crochet.
Maybe like crafts.
Paint.
Oh yeah,
draw,
painting.
Yeah.
Painting. drawing. My
Adult
cousin does
coloring.
that.
A lot of people are doing adult coloring.
Mm-hmm.
And
Marjorie loves adult coloring.
the thing that we talked about, the Bible journaling with the
Yes.
pictures, it's kind of like drawing, but
Yeah.
that too. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff out there. Some
Photography.
people- yeah.
Some people do photography.
I think some people go to classes like Zumba classes. I mean, it's kind of like working out, but like dance classes, things like that. So it just kind of depends.
Now thinking, and talking about like the cooking shows and all that stuff. Do you guys have like a secret mom stash? Like mine, and I can't say exactly where it is because then my mom stash is not just for my children. It's for my husband as well because he will eat all my snacks. Like for Mother's Day, he had gotten me candy and I didn't even have one. So it was between him and the kids, unless he did blame the children, and really it was him because he has a sweet tooth. So yeah, mine is hidden, and I guess, yeah, when the kids are asleep or whatever, then I'll go ahead and munch on it, and that's like part of, I guess, the wind down time too. It's just being able, I mean, not that I don't like to share because this makes me sound bad, but you know, just winding down and being able to enjoy something for yourself. So enjoyable for me because like my husband thinks like, you know, having a sip of my soda or whatever, like for him is a gulp, and like he'll finish my whole drink, and I'm like, come on. So I have hidden stashes, and I've heard, and I don't know if any of you guys have done this. I haven't stooped to that level yet, though. But some moms will hide their food or their snacks in a bag of like frozen peas or like, you know, something gross where like nobody will go to.
That's so funny.
Just so they could enjoy.
I don't even have a stash, so I wouldn't even.
Oh, you share?
I mean, I think because I have the time where I'm at, like, if I really want to have something, I'm at work, I could just get it, like, and I don't have cravings like that often, or like times where I don't know.
So did that change? Because now kind of not changing the subject, because now that you're like, I guess 100% vegan or whatever it is, did your cravings change after that, or?
Yeah, because I used to crave things like chocolate, and I mean, don't get me wrong, sometimes I'll still want like dark chocolate or something like that, but for the most part, I crave like, I don't know, like my friend introduced me to to celery sticks and French dressing, and it's one of the best snacks I've ever had in my life. And I'm like, I'm so upset that I didn't know this before. Of course, I don't know if it has to do anything with the fact that I am a vegan, and that's like one of the only, but even when I had like a sweet tooth, I actually just discovered that I could have brownies, because technically there are, of course, ways to make them, but the actual, like, that comes in a box. The only thing that makes it non-vegan is when you add the egg to it. Certain boxes, of course. So I have yet to try it, but there's like a couple different egg replacements.
There's a good place that has zucchini brownies.
I've never had that.
Oh, we will have to go.
Interesting.
It sounds interesting, but it tastes so good.
Yeah,
I'd love to try it.
I've actually seen a lot of recipes that have the one of the ingredients is avocados in the brownies. So,
Okay.
Sorry. But yeah, I don't have a mom stash. Everything is just there. Usually I keep stuff in my purse, and no one has ever gone into it. So I guess that if I did have one, it's in there because no one goes into it. But that's about it. I don't have a hidden place at home.
I don't have a mom stash because my son doesn't eat.
That's right. You lucked out with that.
Nor does he have ice cream, nor does he like anything. So I would love to have this problem, because I've always said when I was pregnant and I was like, oh, I can't wait for the day where I'm gonna be like, stop eating so much sweets. But no, he took that away from me. So my stash is my stash. And I don't really eat a lot of sweets, but my thing is like puffed Cheetos and I'll eat like 2 bags of them, and it's okay. It's okay if I did. So I admit it. It's my stash, but that's about it. Oh, and popsicle sticks. I like popsicle sticks and an Italian ice, like the strawberry. Like those are my stashes, and usually it lasts me a long time because, like I said, it's just me.
There's these. Now that you mentioned that, I think like at Aldi or whatever, a strawberry popsicle made with like real strawberries. So
I have
delicious.
I have veggie ones that I eat. They're made out of vegetables and fruit.
What kind of vegetables?
Well, I'll show you the box.
Oh.
I don't know. But I have those. Those are really good, and those have been like craving my whole little sweet thing. So, yep, that's my stash. My stash. Not a mom stash, mine.
I don't have a stash either, but I do have to like hide sometimes when I eat. Just because, like, yeah, because sometimes, like, Veronica's in that age where she'll want something and, like, she'll say more in Spanish and she'll just be like, mas. Like, it hurts my feelings to, like, not give it to her. And, like, on top of that, like, I love, like, all kinds of nuts, like, anything made with nuts, like, I like Reese's Cups, I like peanut butter, and she's allergic to nuts.
Oh, no.
So I definitely don't want to turn her down, you know, and know that, like, she can't have it, and I don't know, like, how severe her allergy is yet, so I'd be worried, like, to be eating it and then be, like, holding her hand or playing with her.
Right.
So that kind of stuff, I have to, like, go in my room or go in the bathroom or eat it when she's asleep. So I do, like, hide and eat. I don't have a stash in that sense, but I think that I probably will, like, as they get older and, like, they want to, like, eat my Oreos and stuff. I'll probably have to, like, hide it someday. I don't think I'll do, like, the frozen peas thing. But maybe I'll do, like,
I haven't gotten to that level
maybe
yet,
I'll put it, like, on a high up, like, shelf. I don't know.
Mason
Not when they
has a
start
candy
climbing.
stash, and we have to hide it from him. But that's like a household thing. Like, we have to hide it from him because if not, he'll eat it all in one day. Like, he'll want to eat it. And he's the worst because he doesn't even actually eat it. He'll open it. Like, if it's a lollipop, I can't tell you how many lollipops I've thrown away. Because he'll have us open it for him. Because he's like, Mommy, I want it. I'm like, you don't like this. No, Mommy, I like it. I'm like, okay, fine, here. And I'll give it to him. And then 2 seconds later, I don't want this, Mommy. And I'm like, I told you you don't want it. But that's one way to get rid of all the lollipops and the candy. But yeah, we have to hide it because he goes to birthday parties. Or, you know, whatever. If he goes to, sometimes he goes with my mom to events and stuff. So he'll come back with a whole goodie bag. The other day was a bag, like one of those like brown bags full of candy to the top. I was like, this is not healthy. And then my mom's like, it's okay, we'll hide it from him. And then we'll just give it to him like little by little. And I'm like, okay, I guess. So we have a stash. Like, he has a stash, but he doesn't know he has a stash because we hide it.
But Caleb is getting like that, like wanting things. So this reminded me, yesterday I was in the kitchen and like we just let them, like, not let them loose, but it sounds like they're animals. But especially, you know, Caleb, whatever, he's always in his walker or in his playpen. But, you know, I let him on the floor and stuff like that. And I think it was Julius that was eating the icy, the one I just mentioned. And then I hear, like, silence. And I'm like, okay, this is not good. When I go, they're not in the living room. They had walked up somehow, I don't know how, and I could picture, like, Julius walking with him, tagging along behind him. They were by, you know, my dining room table, you know, the big one girls have seen. And they're in the corner, and I have a picture of it. And I was like, what are you guys doing? And I had my phone because I was like, I got to catch this if they're doing something. And they're both looking at me like this. And I think it was Caleb had the stick in his hand with like strawberry coming out of his mouth. And then Julius is like, Kaylon. And I'm like, really? Like, yeah, it was all his fault.
That's so funny.
So, yeah. But, so now, moving on to Ask Us Moms. This one's more on the, I guess, serious side or whatever compared to what we've been talking about. But how do you approach a mom if you have a concern? So, you know, I guess it goes back to, you know, what we've talked before with, like, you know, the whole mom shaming thing and stuff like that. But just, you know, like knowing when there's something genuinely that you're concerned about. So, like, for me, someone, you know, close to me and stuff like that, I noticed not once, but a few times, the baby for quite a few months from when they were infants, you know, and stuff like that, weren't buckled in correctly. So for me, it was hard because I was like, I don't want to offend her. But at the same time, like, the baby is close to us and stuff like that. So I wouldn't want anything happening to that baby. So for me, what I did, you know, I just wrote her and I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I don't want to come off like, you know, someone mean or anything like this. You know, it's about the car seat situation and And she was like, oh yeah, you know, I know. and this and that, and so yeah, so I apologized to her. I was like, again, I apologize. Like, I don't want to come off bad or anything like that. But we do care for her, and this and that. And she was like, okay, and I guess she took it with a grain of salt, whatever. But it was out there, and I was hoping it wouldn't be awkward, and it's not. So I'm like, thank you, Jesus, because that's not what I wanted. I didn't want to offend her, especially being a new mom and stuff like that. But it's like I had mentioned before, like that's something that was done to me. I didn't know any better, with Valencia. And then after I knew that, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, like I have to buckle her in this way and this and that. And so, I don't know, I guess it's how you approach it. I know sometimes writing or texting or something might come off wrong. But I guess in this situation, I guess it came up across, pretty good. Has anybody been through a situation like that, or have thought of something?
I don't think I've been through a situation like that I can recall right off the top of my head. Well, actually, it wasn't really that I had to approach her. This was actually a close friend of mine. We were hanging out, and I was watching her baby, and when they were leaving, she had buckled her in, and then the one that goes across the chest was a little low. So I just kind of reached over and put it up, and I just looked at her, and then she laughed, but she got the hint. So it just kind of, I think because I had that relationship with her, I didn't really have to say anything. She kind of just understood. So I think when it comes to approaching, it kind of depends on what kind of relationship you have with that person, like how you should take that. If it's somebody that you're close to, hopefully they understand that you're just trying to look out for them, like you have a genuine concern. And I know it's more difficult, especially for a person like me who is very observant. I try to observe as much as possible to understand like what I can say to you, how I can speak to you, what offends you, what doesn't offend you. And I try to take my time with that because obviously I don't want to make anyone feel bad. So, if it's something that you see and you want to approach somebody but you don't necessarily know that person, I think if it was a safety matter, like it's something that could potentially be fatal if it's not handled appropriately, I think I would be much more willing to approach that person and say, hey, just want to let you know because this can happen, I think you should do this. And then especially because there are a lot of things, there's so many different rules and a lot of different things out there that it's impossible to know every single one of them. I know of moms who've had plenty of kids and years of experience, and still sometimes they don't necessarily know something. So it's not always that if somebody's gonna know, so you kind of have to approach someone expecting that they don't. If they do and they're like, oh, thanks for the tip, but I'm good, okay, no problem. At least I approached you, at least I said it, it's okay. But I think I don't know how it would be for me if it was somebody that I didn't know, and it wasn't necessarily fatal, but it could be dangerous, but the likeliness of it's not high. I don't know how I would.
I guess like you're saying, like the whole thing with me with approaching that situation was because I was like, how do I bring it up? But then part of me was like, God forbid something happens.
Right.
I would have been like, I should have said something. And so as hard as it was for me to say something, I was like, I'm gonna do it only because the child is involved and God forbid something was to happen. And I think the other thing too is, like you said, the relationship with the person, because I know I've had people too that are pregnant or whatever, and then I'll be like, oh, by the way, like I'll tell them something, or like a car seat situation or whatever, or different things that have worked for me. But that's one thing I repeat, in my personal opinion, this is what I do, or it's worked for me, it may not work for you, right, kind of thing, or different things, or even in public, that's also a hard one. I don't know how. I always think about that show, like, what would you do? Like, I wonder if I was put in that situation, would I really do something? Or...
I think I've had a couple of like occurrences where I wouldn't say it was that I necessarily witnessed something and was like, oh, hey, like, I think you should do this or anything like that, but more of if I saw that, you know, that person needed help or something like that, like, I was quick to step in, but just for like a second. If they asked for more help at that point, then of course I would be willing. But initially, like, if something falls or, you know, something like that, and they're not necessarily paying attention or they got a lot going on, then I don't mind stepping in a situation where, you know, something that's not pleasant is happening. I don't think I've ever been in a situation like that. I know that RJ and I went out not too long ago, or we went to pick up food, and we were waiting for our food. There was actually quite a couple of people, excuse me, also waiting for their food. So we got our food. We've been there plenty of times, and not once have we ever gotten, you know, the wrong thing. And I kind of, you know, we sat down, we got our food, and it was not what his was not what we ordered. But I was like, can you just eat it? Like, is it that bad for you? And he's like, no, it's okay, I'll eat it. I'm like, okay, cool. I mean, that's like that. And then somebody else had gotten fries instead of fried plantains, and they went to the guy and were like, hey, we ordered this, not that. And he was like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. And he fixed it. And then RJ's like, why did we not say anything about our food again? And I'm like, because there's a lot of people and he's busy, and why is he gonna make you a whole new plate when you can eat yours? And he's like, okay, I just wanted to make sure. So it's like, we both agreed that she probably could have just ate the fries and been fine. So it's like, you know, thinking about that situation, but if it would have gotten, you know, out of hand, I don't know. So it's kind of the same thing with, like, you know, when it comes to mom situations, I think I would be a little bit more willing to say something because it's a mom situation, because there's children involved. But it's hard to say for sure because I've never actually been in that kind of situation.
I'm the type of person, like, if it's somebody that I know, like, we can, like, jokingly and then share kind of those type of stories. But honestly, if it's some mom that I don't, if they look like they may be maybe open to it, but I think I probably think about what I would want somebody to do to me. And I probably, if you don't know me, I don't want you to come at me, because then I might come at you sideways and be like, well, that's none of your business. I'm his mom because I birthed him. So I can probably say that I'd probably come out defensive if I didn't really know who the mom is. And I would always think that, like, we don't know what's going on, or especially when you're out and it's like the discipline thing, when you see a mom discipline their kid. I've seen plenty of times where I've seen mom, like, spank a kid in the thing and people get all shocked, but I'm like, that's the way she disciplines. And it wasn't something abusive that I saw. Like, I guess if it was something abusive, then of course I would probably be like, okay, there's something wrong here, of course, when it comes to a child. But it's like those instances, I know that that's huge when, like, you see somebody tap, you know, a kid or something, but it's like, okay, like, if it were me and I'm tapping my kid, I wouldn't want you to come and approach me because that's just the way I am. Or you see people say, oh, we're going to take you to the bathroom. Like, would you really approach that mom and be like, why are you taking your kid to the bathroom and talking to them in that tone? It's like, that's their thing. So I guess, like, those instances when I hear that, it's like, do you really need to get involved in the way that mom is disciplining their child, or the way that mom is being a mom, because you really don't know the scenario?
I think that's a little different.
That's the thing, is the danger factor. Like you said, if it's someone disciplining their kid, leave it alone. You know, mine, you know, just go like that, or, you know, do the whole Hunger Games thing where you're like, I'm with you. I've been there before. My kid's throwing a tantrum.
It's all about perception, though.
Yeah.
Like, some people might think something is serious, whereas, like, another person
Yeah.
might not think that's the case.
The other case too, you know, I just heard about a situation where a child was out, you know, with her mother, and so I guess the grandma, and I don't know if it was on purpose or by mistake, dropped the salsa on the floor, and the mom pushed the little girl on the floor who had, you know, special needs and stuff like that. And so in that situation, the person that saw all this called the cops on her. and stuff, and waited with the mom and all that, and I guess the mom was fighting back with her and this and that, and I don't know how I would have reacted in that situation, but when that person told me, like, I was like, oh my gosh, how could they do that? And I mean, pushing a child on the ground is different than scolding her and being like, you shouldn't have done that, this and that, or whatever it is. And I mean, we've spoke about it before, but I mean, not that I'm saying that's okay to do. We don't know what the mom's been through, this and that, and maybe it was a moment thing, like we've said. Maybe she just snapped because her whole morning was just chaotic, and not that that's allowed, but so it's just hard.
Even
like
with
I said, I've never been in a situation
even with
like
like
that.
milder issues, like someone told me the Dr. Brown bottles with the straw. Like Jaden had like mild colic when he was little, and people used to tell me, "Oh, that's not," and I had a discussion with a friend of mine where it kind of like thought it was a discussion, and then it turned out, and I got maybe I need to work on it. I got a little different. Like, okay, like I heard you, but that's the bottle I want to use. Like, thanks for the advice. So it just all depends on the approach, the perception.
I really think it still comes down, like you're saying, like perception. Because like I might not even think like a bottle thing's an issue, and to someone else like it might be.
Yeah.
Or like the breastfeeding formula thing. Like it's all like perception or what you think is the right thing. I think that I'm naturally like a little bit more shy, like in like public setting. So I mean, even if it was probably the right thing to do, I think I'm just one that I'd probably just keep my mouth shut. Like if I saw something, like just like being honest with myself and how I would react, it would be probably something that, if I thought that it was serious and I perceived it that way, I'd probably, have a hard time just containing it to myself. But I don't think that I'd probably approach the mom. Now, if it were like the other way around, I wouldn't mind like a mom approaching me, but I would like consider like how like if someone approaches me like condescending or judgmental or like I should have known something or like not even like a mother is a mother, but I do sometimes I sometimes am bothered when it is like that new mom and like you're telling me something like you've been a mom like for a lifetime. Just like and I don't know if anyone can relate to that, but I know I have a family member that I don't know, I feel like she took a pregnancy test and then she knew everything to tell everybody.
Well, that's the same. I've had people
so
like
like
that
those
too.
like I don't like those approaches, but if you approach someone like and you're open, maybe like you ask the mom first, like is there a reason that maybe you don't have your car seat turned around, or does your car seat, I don't know, like maybe like ask the question, figure out like what's going on, maybe share your story, like well my car is too small, I actually can't turn the car seat around, or that happened to me, and this is what I did, or like maybe if we take like those approaches, it might be a little bit easier. I think it comes down to like what Sal said too, like comfort level. So I feel like I'm like between Kim and I, like I feel like I'd be able to tell you like what I think about whatever situation, but that doesn't mean that like I would ever approach Kim and be like, why do you feed Julius that? Like I still would consider like my approach, because like at the end of the day, she's their mom and she's with your kids all the time. You know them, you know what they need. And like I have to like respect everyone for like their individuality as well, like within those limits, but we each define those limits still differently. So it's kind of tough, but I definitely probably keep my mouth shut more than I should. But I don't know, maybe I haven't like developed that comfort level in being able to approach another mom when I really need to.
Right. Maybe it's just also
I think it's just the
situation. Maybe if you feel strongly enough, like, okay, maybe I need to say this, or maybe sometimes we witness something or we see something and it brings something out, and then it's like, okay, I can't contain it. Because for the most part, I'd like to think, unless I'm comfortable with whoever I'm with, but for the most part, I do pretty much keep to myself. I don't approach people a lot in general. So I think for me to approach a stranger and say, hey, like my approach would still be trying to be open and kind, like, hey, I don't know if you know, but you know, try to be gentle about it. But I think if it was something serious enough, I would feel compelled to approach that person.
Yeah, I was in a situation too recently where, I mean, I was shopping and I was getting ready. I was putting the cart away, and this man was so irate, screaming at his wife, and I know he like either shoved his wife or whatever, and I was like, and there was people around, and I'm like, did he just do that? And the lady was like, yeah, like, and they had a kid with them. So I'm like, if he's doing this out in public, like, God knows what he's doing. So I ran in the store, I grabbed management, and I was like, this is the situation happening outside. Like, you know, if you can bring, you know, security or whatever it is, and just make sure that they're okay, because he doesn't look like he's going to do any good to her. And so, you know, at that time, I just waited or whatever, and I guess they got in their car. I don't know what else happened, but I went home with such a heavy heart and just praying for them. And I was, God, just be with them. Please be with that child, that mom. And I don't know what happened, and I'm just like, Lord, you know. But,
well, you know, prayer is a good response. Like, that hadn't even crossed my mind, but definitely, like, if we see situations, like, that is, like, another thing we can do. Or if we feel like we didn't build up the courage to say something, but it's still, like, on our minds, like, you know, like, to pray about it.
Yeah. So you know, and we would love your feedback on what we've talked about today. You know, what you do for mom breaks, if you have a mom stash, and, you know, what you would do in a situation if there was a concern and stuff like that. But now let's move on to table talks. That's the segment where we would love for you to engage with your child, no matter how old they are, whether they're young, they're a teenager, or anything like that, and just sit around the table having dinner, or on your way to school, or now that school's over. So, you know, in the car, or wherever it is, just engage with your child. So this one is, if you could only eat one thing for the rest of your life, what would it be? And we'd love to hear that from you guys and everything. And to leave off with some momspiration, even on the days you feel like you are failing, look around. I promise your kids still think you are the best mom in the whole universe. So I just want to thank you for tuning in to episode 4 of the Perfect Blend podcast. Remember, you can follow us on Instagram at the Perfect Blend podcast, and on Facebook at the Perfect Blend podcast. We look forward to seeing you on the next one.